Hey everybody, it's Raz from the Semi-Retired Samurai. Welcome to my channel. And today I'm going to talk to you about a very delicate subject, which is aging in our 50s. I remember when I turned 50, I thought, wow, my mind is still very sharp and nothing seemed to really change. I still felt like I was in my early 30s and 20s. And suddenly I started to notice subtle changes, and it kind of hit me because I started to see friends of mine that I haven't seen for a long time. And when I see them, I notice they had more gray hair, their skin was a little bit more wrinkly, and it really dawned on me and hit me that, wow, we're really getting older and time is really moving fast. And then I see my nieces. I see my nieces and nephews, and it just seemed like yesterday they were running around my place like a bunch of little kids. And now they're grown adults. They're off to university. Some are even working now. And I sat there thinking to myself, wow, what happened to all that time? It just seems like the last 20, 30 years just flew. And I remember heading back to visit my hometown. And I went to go visit a friend of mine. And I visited his parents' place. And the house still looked the same. The last time I was there was about 30 years ago when they gave me a send-off party in 1993 when I moved away to another city. And like I said, everything looked the same, but the parents now, they slouch more, their memory's not as good, they're a little bit slower, and it really dawned on me that time has really passed, and I cannot believe that I'm here now in my 50s. And I explained to my friend that, you know, when I was last in this house, the age that your parents were at the time, in the mid-50s, is the age that we're at now. Can you believe it? And he said, yeah, it's hard to believe, isn't it, that we're now here. And then I thought nothing of it afterwards because everything continued the same as usual. I exercised. I've always kept in shape, took care of myself. But then I turned 55. And that's when I really start to notice some more changes that were significant. And that was my eyesight. I've always had perfect 20/20 vision. And now suddenly I couldn't make out the small print and I needed reading glasses. I noticed my skin was a lot more drier. My hair was a little bit more brittle than before. And also noticed that my cardio and reflexes weren't as quick and swift like it used to be. I also noticed a lot more gray hair. Before, I used to get my wife to pluck out the one or two gray hairs on my head, but now there were so many, it was impossible to pluck them all out. So I started thinking about, wow, you know, I'm looking really old. And every time I woke up and I'd go to the mirror in the morning, I would see my face, and I'll see a lot more bags underneath the eyes, a little bit more wrinkles, crow's feet around the eyes. And I started thinking to myself, wow, I look horrible. And I decided, well, I can either embrace it, like a lot of people would say, but then I started researching on the internet about anti-aging and the science behind it. And it got me really fascinating on, well, what can I do to, I guess, mitigate this aging process from accelerating? And is there a way that I can slow it down naturally? Because I was never big on taking drugs and so forth. I had one friend of mine who recommended TRT, and I told him I really wasn't interested in that. My energy level was still good. I want to find out what I can do through natural supplementation and maybe taking care of my skin on the outside. And that's when I started to go on this journey of, hey, if I did this, can I reverse the aging process or look younger than my age? And I decided to take control of the process. And that's when I started to really research supplements. I started to reevaluate the way I was exercising. I started to reduce my stress levels and started to really do an audit on my daily lifestyle to see what was contributing to the aging. I know for a fact that I was working so much for the past 20 years building my business that I really didn't spend a lot of time on, I guess, keeping up my appearances or I still exercise, but really on the outside, I didn't really care too much. And I thought, okay, well, if I got into a regimen, how would that affect my body? And how would it affect the way I appear to people? Because as you know, as you get older, a lot of us, well, most of us become really invisible. People start to not take notice of you as much. You're just kind of fade in the background because youth and beauty takes a forefront in our society. And so there was four things that I'd like to discuss with you on what helped me look about 20 years younger. And these are all things that you can do on your own without it doesn't cost a lot of money. And I found it to be really effective because a lot of people come up to me ever since I started going on this regiment and really taking this seriously about a year and a half ago. A lot of people come up to me and they don't see me as a 55-year-old, 57-year-old. They see me more as in my mid-30s. And they ask me what I do to make my skin glow and to look youthful. And I'm going to share that with you today. So the first one and most obvious one is exercise. Exercising daily or even 3 times a week can do wonders for your body. Now, I've always exercised, as I mentioned before, but I think from what I've seen from a lot of my clients and also people that I know, that motivation becomes a big issue, especially when you start working as an adult. And I see a lot of people make excuses that they don't have enough time to exercise or they're busy. And I always explain to them that if tomorrow the doctor told you that you have a month to live, if you don't get on an exercise regimen and lower your cholesterol or do something to reduce your risk of dying, would you find time to exercise? And I'm sure 100% of them would. So I believe that it is overblown when it comes to saying you don't have time for exercise, because we always have time to watch TV, to waste a lot of time just doing nothing throughout the day. So why not spend 30 minutes a day, maybe go for a walk, do some strength training, and to better your body so that you can live a more meaningful life. Because let's face it, when you are sick or you're not feeling well, the enjoyment of life drastically reduces. And to me, that's no longer living. That's just existing. It doesn't matter how much money you have, because it just takes away and sucks away all the enjoyment of life. And I've seen this happen to many people. For instance, when I was younger, when I was probably about 9 years old, my grandmother, she was so vibrant. She loved hosting parties. And I remember she loved to cook these really big, extravagant meals for the family. Family was everything to her. But she also didn't take care of her health. So she liked to eat a lot of sugary treats, all those things. And one year, I noticed she really declined because she had diabetes. And I kid you not, within 2 years, I start to see her shoulder, her back hunch over. She was just a shell of her former self, and it was a very quick decline after that. And I remember visiting her in a hospital and just seeing how much discomfort she was in every day. And it really broke my heart. And I felt myself that I was never, ever going to put myself in that position. And I think the one that really freaked me out was when we went to go visit her one day, my cousin and I took the elevator to the wrong floor. And we ended up in the brain surgery ward. And we saw people bandaged up and they were moaning. And I was really freaked out by the whole experience. And I said to myself that whatever I do, I promised myself that exercise and health was always going to be the forefront of my life for the rest of my life. And I've always maintained that. I've never stopped exercising. Maybe some years when I first started working, I exercised a little bit less, but I've always gotten back to it full time and making sure that it was the main staple of my life. And for some of you who are time challenged, maybe some of you are like saying, well, Raz, I got other responsibilities. I've got kids and so forth. Well, I understand that we all have 24 hours in a day, and it's all the same. So it all depends on how you maximize those hours you spend. Now, my workouts, especially my weight training, is not that long. I actually spend only 30 minutes per session, okay? And I probably weight train 3 to 4 times per week, 30 minutes. The longest is probably 40 minutes, and I'm out the gym. And then the rest of the time, I practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu 3 to 4 times a week. So usually about an hour to maybe might hang around for another half an hour or hour, so 2 hours of training because I enjoy it so much. And that's one thing I want to stress is a lot of people have a trouble finding motivation because they find activity that they don't really enjoy. And for me, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is mentally stimulating, but also the community. I've got friends there. I've made lifelong friends. And it's a time to socially bond as well. So what I recommend is if you're going to engage in a physical activity, try something where you can make new friends and forge new relationships. And I think that makes it easier for you to go out and do your exercise and to find fulfillment in that. So it doesn't seem like a big chore. For me, I absolutely hate weight training. I never liked it. I never liked it when I was a kid. I remember when I used to run track and field, the coaches used to try to get me to weight train, and I used to hide in the rafters, hoping they won't see me, so I could skip that portion of it. And it was not really a big thing of mine. I find it extremely boring. So that is why I do the short workouts that I do, and it still gives me the great results. It still makes my my physique look great. And the one thing about it is, I want to say that when you do the cardio, like jiu-jitsu and so forth, you look in great shape, but outwardly they don't see, as I guess it's the definition of the muscles. And I noticed that when I started weight training again 2 years ago, before that I stopped weight training I think around 28, I stopped because it was kind of funny because when I was younger, you wanted to weight train so that you can attract other girls and kind of feed your ego a little bit when you're that young. But as I got older, I was weight training to maintain my muscle mass. So when I got older and I was losing my muscle, that I would still be strong in my old age. But the byproduct of it is when I start to really hone my physique again, I got a lot of comments from people because they said they They want me. They want to. They were inspired by me because they want to be as in good a shape when they're my age. And I thought that was really, really cool. But the other thing about it is the people, when they see you and you tell them that you're 56 or in your 50s, they really respect a person that keeps themselves in shape, and they see it as a sign of strength because now that person looks like they really, really take care of themselves. And by all the people that come up to comment you and respect you, it makes you feel good as a 50-year-old because, like I said, you're basically invisible to a lot of people when you get to 50 years old. So that I thought that was really cool. And when that happens, amazing thing happens is that your confidence really starts to grow, and now you feel like you can do anything. You can do go and take that into business, start a new project. All these things really transform your life. So there's a byproduct of being in shape that I really, really enjoy, and it's really, I guess, enhanced my life. You know, being a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but also outwardly showing physical health and strength. So I highly recommend that if you haven't started to exercise or thinking about it, just do a little bit. Just go out to the gym, start with one or two sessions, and then slowly build yourself up to that. I would highly recommend finding an activity that you can do and find other people who are like-minded that you could do it with. And that will start you on your journey. And so, because I want all you guys out there to be in shape and ready to take on old age, because it's no joke. It definitely is not. So I hope that's going to help you out. So my next point on looking 20 years younger is to reduce your stress level. Now, when I started my business, it was all I was focused on, and I could tell over a 20-year period that it really, really had an impact on me and on my facial features, my skin, everything. And I knew that it did, but I kind of ignored it because I thought it was just the price of getting older. And a lot of people would come up to me and say, "You look really tired." And there was times during my business career where things weren't going that well. And I had to do things to try to build the business up. And after a while, I started noticing other things start to happen. My sleep pattern wasn't the best. I wasn't getting a good night's rest. I was waking up early in the morning. And all these things start to take the toll on my health. And I noticed that I was getting IBS, which triggered stomach cramps. So that was a wake-up call to reduce my stress level. So I started doing stuff like taking cold showers in the morning to stimulate my vagus nerve. I also started to use vagus nerve's electrical stimulators that were to calm the system. And over a certain period of time, I started to notice changes in the way I behaved and in the way my skin looked and the way my overall outlook on life was. So that was a very important thing that I need to take control of. And I highly recommend that if you haven't looked into it, I would look into stuff like Wim Hof was one of the guys I studied, and I went to his seminar, and that's what got me into the cold showers to stimulate the vagus nerve and finding more information about vagus nerve stimulation. And also the other thing is what stressed me out, I realized wasn't that important. And it wasn't really worth getting all worked up about. So now I start to reframe what is important in my life. And there are certain things that you just really have to let go. And I know that my mother harbored a lot of feelings inside her. And I think that's where I got it from. She was constantly worried about things, and she would harbor a lot of anger in her. And I decided that it wasn't worth my time to do that anymore. So now I kind of pick my battles, make sure that if there's something upsets me, I go out for a walk in nature, which is very important. I feel that when I'm out in nature and just away from everything, it calms the mind. And especially if I'm in a place like Hawaii, where I can go to the ocean and take a walk in the sea, there's something about it that really relaxes me. And I always try to strive for more of it in my life. So make sure you reduce your stress and take care of yourself in that regards, because it will really make you look less older, that's for sure. And that brings me to the next one on how to look 20 years younger. And that is a skincare routine. I can't even stress this enough, because like I said before, I exercise all my life, but this one really made the outward appearance make you look younger. And so I started using a product from Forge called, it's a Forge Beef Tallow. And I saw it on an infomercial and I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. I'll give it a try. I never thought much about skincare before, because I always thought that it was something that women would only care about. And when I brought the product, it was really good. It didn't cause my skin to break out or anything like that, and it really did put a glow in my skin. So I started looking into other products as well, and there was a company called The Ordinary, and they start making, I think they make multi peptides for the skin, and they also have a retinol product and also a moisturizer, and they're fairly cheap as well. So I start to get order some of their products. I start using it regularly on my face, and within 6 months, I kid you not, my crow's feet start to disappear, and also the lines that were forming on my forehead started to disappear, and I noticed my skin was a lot more plumper as well, and I was sold. And it does take a little bit of work. You have to put it on at night and in the morning, but it was well worth it, because my skin glowed and people really noticed that my skin was looking really healthy and asking me for tips on what I use. So that's basically what I use on my face. And as you can see from here, that's the end product. And I would highly recommend it. Now, before you go ahead and go full blast on it, I would highly recommend ordering and then putting a little bit on your wrists, okay, so that you can test to see if you get allergic reaction. Surprisingly for me, because I was allergic to everything, I didn't get a reaction from any of the products, and it's worked great for me. I did include some links below if you are interested in the products. I do get a little bit of affiliate commission, just to let you know, but these products I have actually used, and I fully endorse them, okay? The next one I want to talk about, and the last one to look 20 years younger, is to dress more appropriately. And by that I mean you don't have to dress fancy clothes and stuff like that. I really don't wear any luxury brands and stuff like that. Basically a simple t-shirt and jeans. I do like to wear my tracksuits, because that's just me. I like to be comfortable, so I wear sweatpants, tracksuits, but they're all color coordinated, and I don't look like frumpy like my parents did, right? And I think that's the thing that separates our generation to Gen X, is we might be getting older, but we still want to feel like we're young again, and we always reminisce about the good old days in the 90s and the 80s. So getting older and dressing older is not really our thing. And like I said, you can still dress up age appropriate, but just make sure that everything looks clean and coordinated. And I think when you do that, it also enhances everything. Your physique looks good, your facial features look youthful, and you're not stressed, so you're more radiant, and you got confidence, and now you got clothes that match with the rest of the persona. And overall, when you package everything together, you feel like $1,000,000. I know I do. I feel like $1,000,000 every day I walk on the street, and especially with everything going well in life, there's nothing to complain about. And so that's the last recommendation I will that on how to look 20 years younger. And I hope that this will inspire you and maybe resonate with you who are on the fence about getting old and worry about getting old. Let's face it, there's nothing there's no pill right now that reverses everything completely. I wish there was. I've been hearing stuff about the research from Dr. David Sinclair, and he thinks that within 5 years to 10 years that we'll be able to reverse the aging process. But until then, this is what we have is through diet, through exercise, through skin care, and dressing appropriately for your age. I did want to mention one thing that I forgot, and when it comes back to the diet part, I do eat quite healthy. It doesn't mean that you have to deprive yourself of treats and stuff like that, but I take a lot of supplementation as well. Nothing crazy. It's probably the usual. I take 4 capsules of wild fish oil per day. I also take olive oil as well for the skin and for the heart and everything. And I take my vitamin D, and I also take methylated vitamins. And I also take some of the anti-aging supplements like coenzyme Q10. I take it's a green supplement such as spirulina and chlorella, which will help remove different metals from my body. And I make sure that those are my regular supplements to help with the overall health of my body and to keep my skin youthful. So I just want to mention that to you. And yeah, if you like the video and like my content, please feel free to like and subscribe and check out my next video. Okay, take care. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.